Los Angeles, 1972. The kind of November evening where the Santa Ana wines carry desert heat through palm-lined streets, making the air thick with possibility and tension. The Golden Dragon restaurant sits at the corner of Broadway and Alpine, its red lanterns swaying slightly in the warm breeze, casting dancing shadows across the entrance where a line of well-dressed patrons wait beneath the carved wooden archway. Inside, the atmosphere hums with life, the clinking of porcelain, the sizzle of woks in the open kitchen, the murmur of conversation in Cantonese and English blending into a symphony of Saturday night contentment. Bruce Lee, 32 years old, 5 feet 7 inches of coiled intensity wrapped in a simple black turtleneck and gray slacks, sits at a corner booth with 3 friends. His hair is perfectly styled, his movements economical even in rest. To the casual observer, he's just another diner enjoying steamed fish and conversation. But the waiters know, the kitchen staff knows. Word has spread through the restaurant like electricity through water. That's Bruce Lee, the man who makes movies where he moves like water and strikes like lightning. The man who opens schools to teach anyone willing to learn, regardless of race or background. The man who speaks about philosophy as naturally as breathing, who sees martial arts not as violence, but as honest self-expression. Tonight he's trying to be invisible, just a friend enjoying dinner. Just a man who wants hot tea and good company and the simple pleasure of not being recognized. His companion sitting across from him is Robert Chan, childhood friend from Hong Kong, visiting Los Angeles for the first time. Robert is animated, gesturing widely as he describes his flight, his wonder at the sprawling city, his excitement at everything American. Bruce listens with genuine warmth, occasionally translating menu items, recommending dishes, laughing at Robert's observations about the cultural differences he's noticed in just 2 days. The other 2 friends, Dan Inosanto, Bruce's training partner and fellow martial artist, and Herb Jackson, a student from Bruce's Seattle days, fill out the booth, creating an intimate circle of camaraderie. They're discussing a recent tournament, debating technique and philosophy, the kind of shop talk that makes hours feel like minutes. Robert excuses himself, needs the restroom. Bruce nods, watches his friend navigate through the crowded restaurant toward the back hallway, then returns his attention to Herb's story about a particularly stubborn student who finally grasped the concept of be like water. 4 minutes pass, maybe 5. Bruce glances toward the hallway, frowns slightly. His internal clock, honed by years of discipline, tells him something is off. Robert should be back by now. Then he sees him. Robert emerges from the hallway, but everything about his posture has changed. His shoulders are slightly hunched, his eyes cast downward. His earlier animation has evaporated, replaced by something that makes Bruce's jaw tighten imperceptibly. Robert slides back into the booth without his usual energy, suddenly very interested in his napkin. "You okay?" Bruce asks quietly in Cantonese. "Fine, I'm fine." Robert's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Bruce knows that particular shade of humiliation. Has seen it in mirrors, felt it in his bones during his early years in America. The specific way a person's light dims when someone has made them feel less than human. What happened? Nothing, really. Let's just eat. But Bruce won't let it go. Can't let it go. His eyes scan the restaurant with new purpose. And that's when he spots him. The bouncer. Standing near the hallway entrance like a mountain that grew arms and a scowl. 6 feet 4 inches of muscle stuffed into a black suit that strains across shoulders built for intimidation. Caucasian, early 30s, with the kind of crew cut that suggests military background and the kind of posture that suggests he enjoyed it. His arms are crossed, his expression set in permanent dismissal. He's scanning the dining room with the proprietary air of someone who believes his job is to protect the right kind of customers from the wrong kind. Bruce watches as the bouncer's eyes sweep across tables, lingering a moment too long on Asian faces, moving quickly past white ones. The pattern is clear, obvious, insulting. "What did he say to you?" Bruce's voice is barely above a whisper, but there's something in it that makes Dan and Herb stop mid-conversation. Robert sighs, looks down. "When I came out of the restroom, he was standing there, blocking the hallway. I said, 'Excuse me,' tried to get past. He didn't move, just looked at me and said—" Robert's voice drops, shame coloring every word. "Maybe you should eat somewhere more appropriate." Somewhere that serves your kind. The words hang in the air like smoke. I tried to explain I was here with friends, that we were just having dinner, but he laughed. Told me I should go back to Chinatown where I belong. Said this place is for real Americans. Robert's hands tremble slightly as he reaches for his tea. I didn't want to cause trouble, I came back. Bruce is very still, the kind of stillness that precedes typhoons. Dan and Herb exchange glances, both recognizing the quality of Bruce's silence. They've seen him spar, seen him teach, seen him move through the world with uncommon grace and power. But this silence is different. This silence has weight. The restaurant continues its oblivious symphony around them. Laughter from a nearby table, the sharp report of a cleaver through bone in the kitchen, the gentle clink of teacups finding saucers. Life proceeding as normal while something fundamental has shifted at the corner booth. Bruce stands, the movement is fluid, unhurried. He's not tall by any standard, but something about the way he rises makes him seem to fill more space than his physical dimensions suggest. Where are you going? Robert asks, concern threading through his voice. To have a conversation. Bruce, please, it's not worth it. Let's just finish dinner and leave. I'm okay. Bruce looks at his friend with eyes that have gone dark and deep. You're not okay. And more importantly, the next person he does this to won't be okay. This isn't about revenge. It's about education. He begins walking toward the bouncer, his steps measured and purposeful. Not aggressive, not hurried, just inevitable. Like water finding its level, like gravity pulling toward center. Dan starts to rise, protective instinct kicking in, but Herb puts a hand on his arm. Wait, Herb says, watch. Bruce covers the distance across the restaurant in seconds, but it feels slower. Several diners notice him moving, recognize him, start to whisper. A woman nudges her husband, pointing. A teenage boy's eyes go wide. The ripple of recognition spreads outward from Bruce's path like rings in a pond. The bouncer doesn't notice at first. He's too busy being important, too occupied with his self-appointed guardianship of the dining room's racial purity. Then Bruce is there, standing 3 feet away, hands relaxed at his sides, expression calm as still water. Excuse me. Bruce's voice is conversational, almost friendly. I need to speak with you. The bouncer looks down, literally down because Bruce's head barely reaches the man's shoulder, and smirks. Recognition flickers across his face. He knows who this is, which somehow makes his contempt more pronounced. I'm working, the bouncer says, his voice carrying the gravel of too many cigarettes and the confidence of too many uncontested physical advantages. Whatever autograph or picture you want, I don't have time. I don't want an autograph. Bruce's tone hasn't changed. Still calm, still conversational. I want to talk about what you said to my friend, the man who came from the restroom a few minutes ago. The bouncer's smirk widens. Your friend? The one who can't understand what country he's in? Yeah, I remember. What about him? A few nearby diners have stopped eating now, sensing something. The quality of the air has changed. The restaurant's background noise seems to dim slightly, as if reality itself is holding its breath. You told him this place isn't for his kind, that he should go back to Chinatown, that he's not a real American. Bruce recites the words without inflection, as if reading a grocery list. Is that accurate? The bouncer shrugs, utterly unconcerned. Listen, Mr. Movie Star, I'm just doing my job. Management wants a certain type of clientele. If your friend can't handle that, maybe he should develop thicker skin. Or maybe... He leans down slightly, bringing his face closer to Bruce's. His breath smells like cheap whiskey and cheaper cologne. Maybe you should stick to making your little karate movies and let the real men handle real-world situations. Bruce nods slowly, as if this makes perfect sense. As if he's genuinely considering the bouncer's perspective. I see, so in your view, my friend, who was born in Hong Kong, who speaks 3 languages, who came to this restaurant to experience American culture, isn't American enough for you? Look, I don't have time for philosophy. How long have your ancestors been in America? Bruce asks the question mildly, with genuine curiosity. The bouncer blinks, thrown by the shift. What? Your family. How many generations? I don't see how that's... Humor me. 3 generations? 4? The bouncer's jaw tightens. My grandfather came over from Ireland in 1912. Not that it's any of your business. Bruce nods again. So, 3 generations. That's wonderful. My wife is American. 4th generation. Her family has been here longer than yours. My children are American, born in Oakland and Los Angeles. When my friend Robert's children eventually settle here, if they choose to, they'll be just as American as anyone. Maybe you can explain to me, using your clearly superior understanding of what makes someone a real American, why his face disqualifies him from eating in a restaurant where he's paying money for food. Several diners are openly watching now. A manager starts moving toward them from across the room, sensing confrontation, but he's navigating through crowded tables and his progress is slow. The bouncer's face darkens. You know what your problem is? You people come here, take our jobs, take our spaces, and then get offended when we try to maintain some standards. What standards? Bruce's voice remains level, but something has entered it now. Something sharp beneath the silk. The standard that says human dignity is negotiable based on facial features? The standard that says respect is reserved for approved skin tones? Please enlighten me about these standards. I don't have to explain anything to you. The bouncer straightens to his full height, using his physical size like a weapon. He's got at least 6 inches and 60 pounds on Bruce. In most confrontations, that would matter. Most confrontations don't involve Bruce Lee. You got a problem with how I run security? You can take it up with management. Or, the smirk returns, uglier now. You can try to do something about it yourself, Jackie Chan. Wrong name. Deliberate insult. The bouncer's tone makes it clear he knows exactly what he's doing. Bruce goes very still again. That typhoon silence. When he speaks, his voice is quiet enough that only the bouncer and the nearest tables can hear him clearly. I'm going to give you a choice. One choice. You can walk over to that table where my friend is sitting, apologize sincerely for your words and your bigotry, acknowledge that you were wrong, and commit to treating every person who walks through that door with equal dignity. Or... Bruce pauses, and for the first time, something dangerous flashes in his eyes. You can continue being exactly who you are right now, and I'll teach you a lesson about strength that you'll remember for the rest of your life. I won't hurt you permanently, won't send you to a hospital. But I promise you this, what I do will change how you think about power, respect, and your place in the world. The bouncer laughs. Actual laughter, loud enough to turn more heads. Oh, this is rich. You're threatening me? You? He looks around at the watching diners, playing to the crowd now. Did everyone hear that? The little movie star wants to teach me a lesson. He looks back at Bruce, leaning down again. Let me tell you something, Bruce. I did 2 tours in Vietnam. I've seen real combat. Your choreographed movie fights don't impress me. And your friend? He should be grateful I only told him to leave with words. Some bouncers wouldn't be so gentle. Bruce nods one final time. Decision made. You have 4 seconds to reconsider. 4 seconds? The bouncer laughs again. Or what? You'll call your stunt coordinator? 4. The bouncer's expression shifts from amusement to confusion to the beginning of concern. Something in Bruce's posture has changed. Imperceptibly to the untrained eye, but changed nonetheless. He shifted his weight slightly, relaxed his shoulders, let his hands hang completely loose at his sides. To the bouncer, it looks like Bruce has given up. To Danny Nosanto, watching from across the room, it looks like Bruce has just entered ready stance. 3. You're serious? You're actually counting? The bouncer looks around again, seeking validation for how ridiculous this is, but the nearby diners aren't laughing anymore. Something in the air has shifted further. The manager, still navigating through tables, speeds up. 2. The bouncer's hands come up, not quite in a fighting stance, but no longer casually crossed. Some buried instinct from his military training recognizes that he's made a miscalculation. Look, just back off. 1. What happens next will be replayed in witness testimony for years, described and redescribed, each telling trying to capture the impossible speed, the economical precision, the sheer physics-defying nature of the movement. Bruce doesn't telegraph, doesn't wind up, doesn't shift his weight in any visible preparatory manner. He simply moves. His hand, open, not closed in a fist, flashes upward in a movement so fast it creates a visible blur in the restaurant's lighting. It travels maybe 18 inches total, connects with the bouncer's solar plexus with a sound like a drumstick hitting leather. Not loud, not dramatic, just definitive. The bouncer's eyes go wide. His mouth opens in a shocked O shape. Every molecule of air evacuates his lungs simultaneously. He staggers backward 2 steps, then 3, then his legs simply stop functioning properly. He doesn't collapse dramatically, doesn't fly through the air, just sits down, hard, on the restaurant floor. His back hits the wall and he slides down it slightly, eyes still wide, chest heaving as he tries desperately to remember how breathing works. Bruce stands exactly where he was, hand returned to his side, expression unchanged. The entire sequence, from movement to contact to result, took perhaps 2 seconds, maybe less. The restaurant is completely silent now. Every conversation has died. Every fork has stopped moving. 50 people are holding their collective breath. Bruce looks down at the bouncer who's clutching his chest, face reddening, still unable to draw proper breath. Bruce's voice remains calm, almost gentle. What you're feeling right now, this inability to breathe, this panic, this total loss of control, this is a fraction of what my friend felt when you tried to strip his dignity. The difference is your breath will come back in about 30 seconds. The damage you did to him, that takes longer to heal. He crouches down, bringing himself to eye level with the gasping bouncer. Several diners gasp, thinking Bruce might strike again, but his posture is open. Non-threatening. He speaks quietly just for the bouncer's ears, though the nearest tables catch fragments. You're not a bad person because you're strong. You're not important because you're big. Real strength isn't about muscles or size or how many people you can physically dominate. Real strength is knowing when to use power and when to show mercy. It's having the capability to destroy someone and choosing instead to build them up. You just learned that lesson backward. You felt what it's like to be completely helpless, to have someone take away your power in an instant. Now imagine if I chose to humiliate you further, to mock you while you're down, to make everyone in this restaurant laugh at your weakness. Would that make me strong, or would it just make me cruel? The bouncer's breathing is starting to return, ragged and shallow. Tears of pain and shock rim his eyes. I'm not going to do that, Bruce continues, because cruelty isn't strength. It's weakness pretending to be power. What I'm going to do instead is give you the same choice I offered before. But this time, you'll make it with new understanding. Bruce stands, offers his hand to help the bouncer up. The bouncer stares at the offered hand like it's a snake. Then slowly, very slowly, he reaches up and takes it. Bruce pulls him to his feet with surprising ease, steadying him when he wavers. They stand there, the movie star and the bouncer, David and Goliath with revised ending, surrounded by stunned witnesses. "What's your name?" Bruce asks. Kevin." The bouncer's voice is hoarse, broken. "Kevin Walsh? Kevin, I'm going to walk back to my table now. You're going to take a few minutes to catch your breath, to think about what just happened and why it happened. And then you're going to make a choice, the same choice I offered before. The right choice, hopefully. Because the next time you see someone who doesn't look like you, who doesn't sound like you, who doesn't fit your narrow definition of who belongs, you're going to remember this moment. You're going to remember how it felt to be powerless. And you're going to choose consciously and deliberately to use whatever power you have to protect people instead of diminishing them." Bruce turns and walks back to his table. The restaurant remains silent. The manager, who finally arrived during Bruce's speech, stands frozen, uncertain whether to intervene, call police, or simply pretend none of this happened. Bruce slides back into the booth. Robert, Dan, and Herb stare at him with expressions mixing awe, concern, and disbelief. "What did you do to him?" Robert whispers. "Gave him something to think about," Bruce replies, picking up his chopsticks as if nothing unusual has occurred. "Order more tea? Ours has gone cold." 10 minutes pass. The restaurant's noise slowly returns to normal levels, though several tables keep casting glances toward both Bruce's booth and the hallway where Kevin still stands, leaning against the wall, one hand on his chest, lost in thought. Then Kevin moves. He walks slowly across the dining room, each step deliberate. Approaches the corner booth. Bruce looks up, chopsticks halfway to his mouth, expression neutral. Kevin stops at the table. His face is still flushed, his breathing not quite normal, but his eyes have changed. The contempt is gone. Something else has replaced it. Something raw and uncomfortable and possibly, just possibly, the beginning of understanding. He looks at Robert, swallows hard. I need to apologize. What I said to you was wrong. It was ignorant and cruel and his voice cracks slightly. And I've been that person for too long. I don't have an excuse. My job isn't an excuse. My background isn't an excuse. I was wrong, and I'm sorry, and he looks around the restaurant at all the faces watching him, and something breaks in his expression. And I'm sorry to everyone. Everyone who's ever walked through that door and felt my judgment. Everyone I've made feel less than welcome. Less than human. I'm sorry. Silence again, but different this time. Not shocked. Expectant. Robert studies Kevin's face for a long moment. Then slowly he nods. Thank you for saying that. I accept your apology. Kevin looks at Bruce, opens his mouth, closes it, tries again. How did you... I've trained for years. Combat training, hand to hand, and you just... He touches his chest again, wincing. What did you do to me? Bruce sets down his chopsticks. I showed you that physical power without wisdom is just violence waiting for an excuse. You're strong, Kevin, trained, capable. But you've been using that strength to make yourself feel superior by making others feel inferior. That's not power. That's fear wearing muscle like a costume. I thought strength meant being able to control situations, control people. Strength is controlling yourself, Bruce says quietly. It's having the power to hurt someone and choosing not to. Having the knowledge to humiliate someone and choosing instead to educate them. Anyone can break things, Kevin. Children break things. Building things, building people, that takes real mastery. Kevin stands there, processing, his entire worldview visibly reorganizing behind his eyes. The manager finally approaches, looking nervous. Mr. Lee, I'm so sorry for any disruption. Kevin, we need to talk in the back. No, Bruce interrupts. This conversation is finished. Kevin apologized. It's done. We're all going to finish our meals in peace. The manager looks between Bruce and Kevin, clearly uncertain, but nods slowly and retreats. Kevin lingers another moment. Could I ask you something? Of course. You could have really hurt me, could have broken something, made me look like a complete fool in front of everyone. Why didn't you? Bruce considers this. Because that's what you would have done if positions were reversed. And I'm trying to be better than what I was taught to be. Better than what the world sometimes tells me I should be. Someone once made me feel small because of how I looked, where I came from. I had two choices: become bitter and pass that pain forward, or use it to make sure others don't feel that same smallness. Every day I choose the second option. Today, I'm hoping you'll start making that choice too. Kevin's eyes redden again. He nods, wordless, and walks away. Not back to his post by the hallway. Straight to the back offices, hand still on his chest, shoulders slightly hunched, not from injury but from the weight of new understanding. Bruce returns to his meal. His friends remain silent for a full minute before Dan finally speaks. You could have ended that differently. I could have, Bruce agrees. But then what? I break his jaw, his pride, his livelihood. He goes home angrier than he came, nurses his hatred along with his injuries, teaches his children that might makes right and the world is divided into winners and losers. Nothing changes except I feel momentarily powerful and he feels permanently victimized. What does that accomplish? So you showed mercy, Herb says. I showed him the truth. That real power isn't about domination. It's about liberation. Freeing someone from their ignorance is more valuable than proving you can hurt them. Anyone can hurt. Very few can heal while making their point. Robert is quiet, staring at his plate. When he finally speaks, his voice is thick. My whole life, when someone insults me like that, I either accept it or I fight back and make things worse. I never thought there was a third option. There's always a third option, Butchies Bruce says. It's just harder to see when you're hurt or angry. The third option is teaching. Showing someone that their worldview is incomplete. Giving them an experience that forces growth. I didn't hit Kevin to punish him. I hit him to wake him up. To create a moment so undeniable he couldn't retreat into his old patterns. And then, this is crucial, I offered him a path forward. Showed him that strength and grace aren't opposites. That you can be powerful and kind, capable and merciful. Dan leans back, shaking his head with a slight smile. 4 seconds, that's all it took. 4 seconds to create the moment, Bruce corrects. The real change takes longer. Maybe Kevin goes home tonight and forgets everything. Tells himself I got lucky, returns to who he was. But maybe he remembers how it felt to be helpless. Remembers that someone with the power to humiliate him chose instead to educate him. And maybe that memory changes how he treats the next person who doesn't fit his definition of acceptable. That's what I'm betting on, not the 4 seconds. The 40 years that might follow because of them. They finish their meal in contemplative quiet, the earlier joy replaced by something deeper, more meaningful. The restaurant around them gradually returns to normal, though whispers persist. Several diners approach as they're leaving, wanting autographs or just to shake Bruce's hand. He's gracious with each one, patient, present. As they reach the door, Bruce glances back toward the offices where Kevin disappeared. For just a moment, their eyes meet through the small window in the office door. Kevin is sitting in a chair, head in his hands, his boss standing over him, gesturing emphatically. Kevin looks up, sees Bruce, and something passes between them. Not quite understanding, not yet. But the seed of it. The possibility. Bruce nods once. Kevin nods back. The door to the Golden Dragon closes behind them, red lanterns swaying in the November wind, carrying the warmth of the evening back into the Los Angeles night. 3 years later, a small martial arts studio in Riverside, California. The sign outside reads Walsh's Martial Arts and Community Center. The paint is fresh, the windows are clean. Through the glass, a diverse class of students, Asian, Black, Latino, White, practice basic forms under the instruction of a tall, crew-cut instructor who moves with surprising grace for his size. Kevin Walsh has been teaching for 18 months now. Saved up money from 3 jobs, took out a small business loan, found this space in a neighborhood the banks call transitional, and the residents call home. He teaches traditional martial arts, but more than that, he teaches the philosophy that arrived in his life 4 seconds at a time. On the wall, visible to everyone who enters, hangs a framed quote, hand calligraphed. Real strength is not about domination. It's about liberation. Below it, smaller text adds. Lesson learned from Bruce Lee, November 1972. Kevin doesn't talk much about that night at the restaurant. Deflects questions when students ask about the quote. But those who've trained with him long enough notice certain things. The way he corrects students with gentleness rather than mockery. How he personally covers fees for kids whose families struggle financially. The way he stops class whenever someone makes a racist joke or casual bigoted comment, turning it into a teaching moment rather than letting it slide. He doesn't claim to be enlightened. Doesn't pretend the prejudices of 30-plus years evaporated in 4 seconds of confrontation and 5 minutes of conversation. But he's trying. Consciously. Daily. Choosing each moment to be a little better than the person he was before a movie star demonstrated that true power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the choice to build. In July 1973, when news reaches Riverside that Bruce Lee has died suddenly in Hong Kong, impossibly young, impossibly sudden, Kevin closes the studio for the day, spends hours sitting alone on the mat where he teaches, crying for a man he met once, spoke to twice, and whose impact on his life cannot be measured in time or words. He reopens the next day with renewed commitment. Because mourning is important, but living the lesson is more important. That's what Bruce would have wanted, not grief, growth. By 1985, Walsh's Martial Arts and Community Center has become something more than a dojo. It's a safe space for immigrant families, a place where gang-affiliated kids can find belonging without violence. A community hub where ESL classes meet on Tuesday nights and the rent is forgiven if you can't pay. Kevin is older now, graying at the temples, moving a bit slower, but his classes have waiting lists. Parents bring their children not because Kevin was some champion fighter, he never was, but because of what he teaches beyond the forms, because of how he builds up instead of breaking down. One evening, a new student arrives. Teenage boy, Vietnamese immigrant, speaks broken English, carries himself with the defensive posture of someone who's been dismissed too many times. Kevin recognizes that posture, has seen it in mirrors. The boy is skeptical, wary, unsure if this is another place where he'll be tolerated rather than welcomed. Kevin takes extra time with him, patient with language barriers, encouraging rather than critical. At the end of class, as students bow out, Kevin asks the boy to stay for a moment. "You look like you're carrying something heavy," Kevin says carefully, speaking slowly to aid comprehension. "Like someone told you that you don't belong, that you're less than. I want you to know something." The boy watches him cautiously. "You belong here. Not because I'm being nice, not because I feel sorry for you, but because anyone willing to learn, willing to grow, willing to treat others with respect, that person belongs. Always. No exceptions." The boy's eyes redden, nods silently. Kevin continues, "Someone taught me that lesson once, taught it to me hard in a way I couldn't ignore or forget. And it changed everything about how I see strength, power, respect. Every day since then, I've tried to pass that lesson forward, to be the person I wish I'd been before I learned it the hard way." "Who taught you?" the boy asks, his English hesitant but clear. Kevin smiles, gestures to the framed quote on the wall. "Someone who understood that true mastery isn't about defeating people. It's about elevating them, even when they don't deserve it, especially when they don't deserve it." The boy reads the quote, recognition flickering across his face. "Bruce Lee? You knew Bruce Lee." "For about 15 minutes, Kevin says. "But those 15 minutes changed the next 13 years. And if I do this right, they'll change the next 30. And maybe if I teach you well enough, you'll carry it forward after I'm gone." That's how lessons become legacy. Not through one moment, but through every moment that follows. Now, today, this moment as you read these words. Think about Kevin Walsh standing in that hallway, using his physical size and social position to make someone feel small. Think about Bruce Lee walking across a restaurant, knowing he had the skill to humiliate but choosing instead to educate. Think about the 40-plus years of ripple effects, students taught, prejudices challenged, communities built, that emerged from 4 seconds of action and 5 minutes of compassionate wisdom. Now think about your own life. Who have you made feel small when you had the power to build them up? What did you do the last time you won an argument? Did you drive your point home until the other person felt crushed, or did you extend grace once you'd made your point? When someone wrongs you, insults you, diminishes you, what's your first instinct? To match their cruelty? To respond with equal force? To teach them a lesson by making them hurt the way they made you hurt? Or do you have the strength to do what Bruce did? To respond to aggression with controlled power? To meet ignorance with education? To answer hatred with an example of what real strength looks like? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of us are Kevin before the lesson. We use whatever power we have, physical, social, intellectual, economic, to feel superior, to win, to prove we're right and they're wrong. We break people and call it justice. We humiliate opponents and call it strength. Real strength is harder. Real strength is knowing you could destroy someone and choosing not to. Having the last word and staying silent. Winning the fight and offering a hand up instead of a final kick. Bruce Lee could have broken Kevin Walsh's jaw, could have made him a cautionary tale, a viral story, a humiliation that followed him for life. Instead, he created a moment so powerful that it changed not just one person, but everyone that person would go on to teach, help, and influence. 4 seconds of action, 5 minutes of wisdom, 4 decades of ripple effects. That's the real lesson, not the strike. The choice that followed it. The recognition that breaking someone is easy, building them back up takes mastery. So ask yourself, what are you building? When you have power in a moment, and we all have power in certain moments, what do you do with it? Do you use it to elevate or to dominate? To teach or to destroy? To create ripples of growth or waves of pain? The next time someone dismisses you, insults you, tries to make you feel less than, you'll have a choice. You can respond in kind, can match their cruelty, can prove you're just as capable of causing pain. Or you can respond like Bruce, with controlled power, with measured wisdom, with the strength to show them a better way. The question isn't whether you have that strength. The question is whether you'll choose to use it. 4 seconds can change everything. What will you do with yours?